Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I thought I'd do my intro a little more different this time. I actually was able to go to a strawberry farm to pick strawberries for this recipe that I'm going to do, and I just thought it would be really fun for me and for you to see the experience in itself. I'm not sure if you have strawberry fields or these types of farms available to you wherever you live, but I actually grew up going to these. My mom would take me every once in a while, and I really love the experience of being able to pick my own food and to see where it comes from, and I just love the taste so much more than the store-bought ones. It's truly a world of difference if you have the opportunity to do so, and I highly recommend it.
Nothing quite like all this color, couldn't paint a better day. Got good times on the horizon, I can see them on the way. Couple birds came up beside me, had to feed them some Bob Marley. Swear I heard them angel calls, lay outside as heaven falls, heaven falls, heaven falls, as heaven falls, heaven falls.
Now, to start with the recipe, we're going to make the strawberry filling for the shortcakes. We're going to start with a cup of strawberries sliced. You can cube them or cut them up however you like, but you're just going to put them in a small bowl with some sugar and just let that set aside.
It's not for me to say you love. It's not for me to say you love.
So here is that quarter cup of sugar I was talking about earlier. We're just going to let the berries sit in the sugar. That way we can finish macerating them at the end for the filling. To make the shortcake dough, we're going to start off with 2.5 cups of flour.
It's not for me to say.
Once you've measured out your 2.5 cups of flour, you're going to go ahead and drop in 2 tablespoons of baking powder. Baking powder will lighten and fluff up our biscuits for our shortcake to make them nice, airy, and light for summertime. Up next, we will need 2 teaspoons of sugar. So I actually had some left over in my measuring cup, so I just went ahead and measured out my teaspoons from there. Now, just a teaspoon of salt. You can even just pinch some out and drop it in. You don't necessarily have to measure it out, but just so that you can see it, I am pouring it into my teaspoon. So up next is half a cup of butter, and you're going to cut up the butter into tiny little cubes. You want your butter to be cold, so just take it out of the fridge and cut it up and drop it into the dry mix. But before dropping in the butter, I'm just making sure that all my dry ingredients are evenly mixed in. So that's what I'm doing here with the fork. So now for the messy part. Once you start dropping in the butter and you have it all in your bowl, you're actually going to need a pastry cutter, but if you don't have a pastry cutter, you can use 2 butter knives and slice the butter into your dry mix. The reason you use the 2 butter knives is so that you don't heat it up and melt the butter as fast as you would with your hands. However, I just was kind of impatient and used my hands. It's totally up to you. My dough still came out really great even though I used my hands. And once you start mixing in your butter, you will see the pieces of butter clump up into bigger pieces because the flour starts sticking to it. Once you have a nice distribution of butter in your dry mix, you're going to go ahead and slowly pour in 1 cup of buttermilk. I actually was too lazy to go out and buy buttermilk that I wasn't even going to finish the carton for. So if you don't want to go out and buy buttermilk, if you have cream of tartar, you can add a 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar to 1 cup of milk. You let it sit for 30 minutes to an hour, and then you have yourself some homemade buttermilk that you can use. You'll get to a point in your mixing where it's just too dang hard to use a fork. So go ahead, wash your hands, and just use your hands instead of the fork. You will know your dough is ready once there is no more dry mix and everything is cleaned off of your bowl. So now my dough is just about ready to press out. So all I'm doing is flattening out the dough, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the flaky layers that you see in a shortcake biscuit. So you fold it once and then you flatten it out and then you fold it over a second time so that you have a total of about 3 to 4 layers. It's completely up to you. Just know that the more you fold it, the more layers you will have in your biscuit. Now, if you really, really want the cute, perfect circles for your shortcake shape, you can either use a circle cookie cutter, or if you don't have a cookie cutter, you can just grab a glass, flip it upside down, and then stamp into your dough. I didn't really care about the shape of my shortcake, I just wanted to eat it. So what I did is I just cut it in half, and then I cut it across about 3 times so that I got, I believe, 8 little shortcakes, and then I just patted the edges to round them out a little bit.
It's not for me to say you love.
So I'm going to put those in the oven for about 15 minutes at 350 degrees. They don't take long at all. I would keep an eye on them because you just want them to get nice and slightly golden on top. So as you saw, I was mashing the strawberries out a little bit to bring out some of the juices for the filling. When you fill your shortcakes, please don't be impatient like me and cut them open right away. I, 1, burned myself, and 2, your whipped cream will obviously melt and just turn into a sweet puddle if it is too warm. Now for the best part, aside from eating it obviously, I am assembling the shortcake. You can layer it however you want. I went ahead and put some berries on the bottom, and then I put a bunch of whipped cream. Whipped cream is my absolute favorite. You can put in as much as you want. You can also just whip up some heavy whipping cream and make it at home. That's what I prefer, but this was just really convenient because I already had it in my fridge. And then I'm obviously adding just a few more berries on top. If you get tired of this dessert, you can also use your leftover biscuits for dinner. They are not too sweet and not too salty, so you can definitely use them for other meals, which is what I really love about this recipe. And that is all. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I appreciate you so much. Bye!
It's not for me to say you